I make a little bit introduction in Italian. Buonasera a tutti signori, benvenuti a questa magnifica puntata dello Speakers Corner e come vedete, come promesso, come ospite abbiamo Mr. Luke Gygax e insieme a me c'è Eric Upson. Buonasera a tutti. So, I make a translation very quick. As I promised in the channel of Ubibol, we have as guests our dear friend Luke Gygax and my dear friend Eric Ulfson. So, welcome, Luke. It's a very honor and pleasure to have you here. So, we say hello to all the people in the chat, my mothers, my friends that are come here just for this incredible talk that we have tonight. So, thank you very much again. Yeah, this is a very wonderful moment, okay? Because in Italy, we have a very great, deep love for what your father did. So for us, it's something that going off our border, because in Italy, there's not so common to have people so important for the TTRPG like you and what you represent for the world of TTRPG. Anyway, so tell me. Okay. Someone says that the look is not possible to hear. Let me give you 1 second that I try to understand why does not work. Okay. Yeah, technical difficulties. Just a moment. Ok, we try to
Dicono che non si sente neanche la mia di voce.
Ok, adesso forse si dovrebbe sentire, vediamo un po'. Mi date
for
conferma
audio
se
inputs.
si sente la voce di Eric? Ora sì, perfetto, benissimo, scusate. Just a little technical difficulties, now it's solved. So, again, thank you very much for coming. So we do a replay introduction. So, thank you very much again. And I leave the speak to my friend Eric that was muted also. So please tell everything you want.
Again, it's an honor to have you here with us, and thank you again for joining us today. It's really a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. It is my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And I love to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and what my father did and the positive effects of role playing for the world.
Thank you. So we're going straight into the interview and into the talk in the sense, and we start usual with this question, Luke. Please, Mr. Luke Gygax, tell to our people who is Luke Gygax. And sorry if I hope that I pronounce well your surname, Gygax. Okay.
Yes, that's right. It's Gygax is correct.
Perfect.
It's a Swiss name, so in Switzerland it's pronounced Gygax.
Gygax,
yeah. But the Americans say Gygax.
Okay.
Yeah. So I am one of the sons of Gary Gygax, the co-creator of Dungeons and Dragons. I was the first person who was raised playing D&D and role-playing games since I can remember. I just recently retired from the United States Army after 33 years of service. I am a husband and father of 3 lovely little girls that are the center of my world, and I also in the gaming world, I run a convention called GaryCon that takes place in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. That's the hometown where I was raised, where Dungeons and Dragons was written, and where the first company that published Dungeons and Dragons, TSR, was headquartered for many years. And I do that as a memorial convention to my father, as well as all the other founding fathers who started the role-playing game industry. Since I retired from the Army, I am writing Dungeons and Dragons adventures, and my publishing company is called Gaxworks. That's what I'm up to.
That's very good, very good, very Interesting to let you know. There's people on the chat that I want to tell you what kind of wonderful childhood you gave us. Your family gave to us. So this is very wonderful. And believe me, there is a sort of a unicorn here in Italy for TTRPGs player. That is the red box. Okay, the red box of Dungeons and Dragons for Italian. It's something that people take on the safe box, like, I don't know, jewels of the aunt or of the grandma. So that's the dimension of love of the original Dungeons and Dragons and advanced one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the red. Yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry. It's become a cult item.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the red box is when it really started getting popular, and the artwork was amazing. That's Larry Elmore, who is a friend of mine and still comes to GaryCon. That's the only convention he comes to in the world anymore because he's getting a little bit older. But he is an amazing artist and just a really wonderful man to sit and have a whiskey and talk with. He's got great stories.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. This is give us the dimension, the family dimension of what happened into the Lake Geneva and in the years. So this is very wonderful. This is very great because we are usual to consider Dungeons and Dragons something that flies over the clouds, no? But at the end,
Yes.
it's very normal. It's very familiar for you, and this is very, very interesting.
Yeah, Larry. So Larry was in the army in the 1970s. He was a tank driver, so he was an armor. He drove a tank, and then he got out of the army and he was doing graphic design for the army, and he was very comfortable in a place called Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And he knew, I can't remember who his friend was that he knew. It might have been. Anyway, he did some drawings on the side, like for extra money, and that got the attention of the art director at TSR, and TSR was growing and growing, and they needed good artists, so they offered him a job. And his wife said, "You have a really good job. It's safe. It's with the government. You should stay." And Brian Bloom, who ran TSR with my dad, they called him to come to Lake Geneva, and they said, "How much do you make now?" And I think he said $30,000 or whatever it was. They said, "We'll pay you double." He's like, "Okay, but I also just bought a house." They're like, "No problem. We will sell your house. We'll buy your house and we'll sell it." And so Larry said, "Okay, I can't say no." And that's how Larry came to work for TSR.
This is very interesting.
And it was worth it. He was worth it.
I think it was a very interesting offer. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, he's great. He's told. I don't know if you have the picture of the red box set, but that has the dragon coming out at you like this, right?
Yeah.
And Larry was drawing this and drawing it, and it kept getting rejected. Like, nope, it's not right. No, it's not right. And so he said, "Well, what does he mean it's not right?" So he said, "I want to go talk to my dad. I want to go talk to Gary." And so he went to his office, and they were like, no, you can't go in there. He's the boss. And he's like, "But I need to talk to him." And my dad heard, and he's like, "What is it? Come on in." Because, my dad was very down to earth, right? But when you're the boss, people try to keep you away. And Larry tells the story, and he's like, "Well, this keeps getting kicked back, Gary. What's going on?" He's like, "Yeah, it doesn't really, I really want the dragon to come out at you and get you." And so Larry's like, "Yes, I've got it." And so he drew the drawing, and that's how you got the red box.
It's very good. It's very funny. It's a very good story.
Yeah, Larry tells it 10 times better than I do because he was there. But it is a good story.
Just a question for curiosity of all the people over there. There is this story that the first 1,000 copies of the first edition of Dungeons and Dragons was assembled in your father's home by themselves.
Yes.
So this is true. This is true. Okay.
Yes. So if you don't know, my dad, he loved war games, but this did not make a lot of money.
Absolutely.
Very few people played war games back in the 1960s and 70s. It was small, and he had a big family. I'm the youngest of 5, so there was 5 children, And right before I was born in 1970, my dad lost his job as an insurance underwriter, so he had no job. Um, and he decided, he talked to my mom, and she said she supported him to write and to pursue his dream to be an author. So he did that, and to make, for a little bit of money, he was a shoe repairman.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know what that is, but he fixed shoes when they were broken, a cobbler.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's not a job where you make money.
Yeah.
It's very poor. And
Understand.
we had no car. My mom would garden
Hmm.
and put food in cans for the winter time, and that's how we would eat. So we were very, very poor, and we bought used clothing. So we were broke. We had no money at all, and so my dad wanted to pursue writing and making games, and he did a good job, but it was just so small. There was not much money, and he found, of course, he talked to Dave Arneson, and they came up with Dungeons and Dragons, and he took it to Avalon Hill, the one big company, and they said, no, Gary, this is a bad idea. It's, we make war games, not kids games with wizards and trolls. That's for stories. That's children's stories. It's not for games. And he talked to another friend who was much smaller, and he also said no. So my dad, who had nothing, uh, talked to his best friend Don Kay, and they
Hmm.
made tactical studies rules in 1973, and they his friend borrowed $1,000 to start TSR and to publish Dungeons and Dragons. So everything was as cheap as it could possibly be, and that's why the first sets are in a wood grain. It looks like wood. That was the cheapest, ugliest box they could buy,
Oh.
and that's what that was. And then we put stickers on it, right? Because those were cheap, and we put them together because you couldn't pay somebody to do it. So this was all. We were very, very poor. So those first 1,000 sets, that was all they had to borrow money. We had no money.
Thinking that today is the most famous and played game, TTRPG in the world, gives the dimension of where it started and in which way it started. So this is very important for us because on the other side of the ocean, the perception, the idea of what is a Dungeons and Dragon, it's something very, very big, huge, no? uh, Sometimes we find a very difficult to understand that it starts with a box, stickers, and families that bet their money in a project that could be very risky, as someone said. But it is very wonderful because from small ideas, winning ideas, it was born one of the greatest one. Okay. We could say that in Italy, if we make a comparison, could be Ferrari. Ferrari is born
Yeah.
from a small box, okay, similar to
Yep.
this story at the end, okay. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, and it was not. It wasn't guaranteed. Dungeons and Dragons would not exist if my dad didn't believe and did put everything he had. He risked everything. He was told no, 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 and he still did it. And he created a lot of important things. So that's the more the more I learned about it. I mean, I was there, right? But I was small. I was born in 1970. Dungeons and Dragons was published in January of 1974. I was 3 years old, um, but I grew up with it. But I didn't realize how important the role-playing game genre was. It created a whole new type of game, and all the work my dad did to make that happen, and all the great, he started the Dragon magazine, which was important at the time. There was no internet, so it's how people would communicate, right? And write forums and things. You had to publish it and print it. So he started Dragon magazine. In 1968, he started a convention called Gen Con, which is the
Yes.
biggest convention in North America
Yeah.
now. But it was very important. Those things that he did besides creating Dungeons and Dragons, he was critical to the development of the tabletop role-playing game industry that we know today.
And I believe that it was a bit smaller than the huge convention it is today, GenCon.
Yeah, it was 100 people. It was 100 people,
Amazing.
and yeah, and that was remember Lake Geneva, where the town is 5,000 people. That's
Okay.
it. So it's small.
Okay.
And to get 100 people to come and to get 100 wargamers together in one place. I talked to like Tim Kask and other people, and they're like, wow, that there was more than 4 wargamers at one time any place was amazing, and to see like 100 people was incredible. Like they didn't know there were so many people that would play games, and they all got to tell how they played games and how they looked at the rules, and new ideas formed. So it was important for creativity.
This is very incredible. Eric.
Yes. One thing that we really want to know is your personal relation with tabletop RPG, the past, the present, and the future. Your story in the RPG genre.
Sure. So I grew up, like I said, in my dad's household, where we created games, and my D&D game, what we would do in our home D&D game was published, right? So that's a different experience than most people have. But for me, that was my home game. So I would play test. The first game I remember playing was The Village of Hamlet.
Oh.
So, and that was my character. That's where I had my first character, was a ranger named Otis, and he pretended to be just a regular man that you would hire, a man at arms, and he was spying on the players. He was spying on the players for the druid, right, to see if they were good or evil. And so my dad just said, "Oh, you're a man at arms. You can roll the dice." And I was like 4 or 5, so I was pretty young.
Okay.
And but I played that character through that, and then we went adventuring in Greyhawk Castle sometimes, but we also played the giants. The steading of the hill giant chief, the Jarl of the frost giant. I can't remember the frost giant Jarl, the Hall of Fire Giant King. So I played the Giant series, and then we went and did the Drow series with that character. So I made it to 10th level with Otis, and then he retired, and I started a new character, and that was Melf, and I was probably 10 years old then, and I played Melf through Greyhawk, and the module I played the most was probably Sajkanth, if you remember the Lost Caverns of Sajkanth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I played that one all the way through. Half the time I just played solo, because I would just come home from school and I'd beg my dad to play, and so he'd be like, "Okay, let's play test this one." And so I play tested that, and then sometimes it would be friends who would come over, and it was people like, I don't know if in the 80s, a guy named Francois Marcelo Foy-Duval was kind of the French D&D guy, and he worked for TSR, and he lived near us for a while, so he would come and play, and then just local kids that I knew, my friends, also played and play tested, so that was a lot of fun. So through that, I got to do things like create monsters and spells that became part of the game. So the Bullywug, if you remember the Bullywug.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, so I created that with my dad. Again, I was just a boy. I was in the backyard, and we had a creek, and I was watching tadpoles and stuff. I was like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if there were like little frog guys and that? And so we just talked it out with my dad and wrote it up and put it in the book. I made Melf's Minute Meteors and Melf's Acid Arrow, which were spells I made because I needed them. Like I said, I would adventure alone, right? Because I was the youngest. My brothers and sisters were mostly gone and out of the house. But I played a fighter magic user, but I was just one person. So if you open a door in a dungeon, right? If you're doing a dungeon crawl, and let's say there's, brigands or bandits or orcs, and then they might have a shaman or a wizard who's with them, right? So they're in front, and you have to fight them, and the wizard is throwing spells at you. So I didn't like that, right? And I wanted to, how can I stop the spellcaster? I can't get through. So I said, okay, well, how about if in first edition, if a spellcaster takes damage, they can't cast a spell, right? Their spell is ruined. So I said, okay, if I can just pour acid on them, that will burn the whole time, and they can't concentrate to do a spell. But there was no way to do that with a real arrow, right? That doesn't work. So I had to make up a magical solution. So I had to study and spend time and gold pieces to study and create the spell, and we did. And so the idea is you cast the spell. So you find a spellcaster, right? You throw that on them, and then if they fail, if you hit them, they're going to take damage for 3 rounds, 4 rounds, and then you can fight and make it through there without them putting magic missile and charm person and burning hands, all that stuff on you. So that was why I did Melf's acid arrow. So it's very useful for first edition. It's okay in 5th edition, but not as good, right? Because different rules.
Mm-hmm.
And then Melf's minute meteors. It's an easy one to figure out how that came about. Everybody, when they turn 5th level, what's the one spell the wizard wants? Everybody loves this spell. No?
Yeah.
Fireball?
Yeah,
Fireball,
absolutely.
right? Fireball, yeah, it's the
Absolutely.
spell.
Oh,
It's the spell you want.
I think
So
it's
I
the
love
most famous
Yeah.
or infamous for his side effects.
Right. Yes. So I was, I was a boy, and I was like, yes, Fireball. And so I'm in Greyhawk, and Greyhawk dungeon, and I kick open a door, and there's an ogre, and I got initiative. I was like, all right, I got initiative, and I was like, how big is the room? And my dad's like, it's a 30 by 30 room. I said, great. I'm in the doorway. I can throw the Fireball into the room, no problem. Right? It's 30 by 30. I won't get damaged. Well,
yeah,
it's 30 by 30, but it was only 10. So
it
So I
happens
was
all
mad.
the time. It happens all the time. Even
Yeah.
here, no? The first Sean said, okay, I started to play Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, Fireball.
And so I fireballed myself, and I was so mad because I think I failed my saving throw. And my dad played, if you failed your saving throw, you had to go down your character sheet, and everything you were wearing had to make a saving throw, right? And if it didn't make it, it was gone. It was destroyed. So you could lose a potion or a scroll or whatever it was. It was a lot of work. So I was like, I thought that was unfair. So I wanted to make small fireballs so that wouldn't blow up like that. So Melf's minute meteors. That's what I came up
I can say for all of us that your exclamation, yes, Fireball, is the most common reaction and is one of the favorite spell besides any secondary damage. No, not important, just cast Fireball.
Yeah.
If you allow me, after
Yeah.
finish of this talk, I think that I will cut where you see okay Fireball, and I will
Yeah.
put as my alert, okay, here on the
Yeah,
channel,
absolutely.
because it's something that is not happen every day, okay.
There is
Yeah,
it's
nothing
great.
more that says D&D than Fireball.
Yeah.
That's true. Yep. That is true.
Okay.
We all love Fireball. It's a great spell.
I make a very brief and synthetic translation for the people that does not speak English in our chat. Very quickly. Ok ragazzi, abbiamo fatto un breve excursus su quello che è stato per lui Dungeons and Dragons. Faccio questo discorso per chi è che non è avvezzo a capire molto bene l'inglese. Quindi per la famiglia Gygax Dungeons and Dragons è una cosa di casa. Cioè suo padre era un carrista nella seconda guerra mondiale, per cui è tornato a casa, aveva la passione per Wargames, si è messo insieme a tutto quanto il gruppo di quelli che hanno creato a Lake Geneva, che è un posticino da 5.000 abitanti, non di più. Hanno creato questo gioco che ovviamente era un po' visto non troppo bene, perché hanno dovuto investirci tutti i loro risparmi e all'epoca non esisteva niente di simile a quello. Tant'è che hanno comprato questa scatola famosa da cui è tratta la scatola bianca, poi la scatola rossa, questa scatola tipo per camicie, hanno messo degli adesivi e hanno creato le prime 1000 copie. Quindi abbiamo chiesto infatti che non fosse una leggenda il fatto che esistessero queste famose prime 1000 copie fatte a casa nel loro scantinato, ed è una cosa insomma abbastanza interessante da questo punto di vista. E poi ci ha raccontato che lui la sua esperienza con D&D ha coperto tutta la sua vita, perché ha visto papà scrivere, muovere i primi passi all'interno del mondo da lui creato di Dungeons and Dragons, e lui insieme agli altri 4 suoi fratelli, sono 5 figli, e sono stati i primi pre-test fondamentalmente di tutto quello che è il mondo dei Dungeons and Dragons. E quindi si parlava adesso che la cosa più divertente è che, non essendoci i tiri di salvezza all'inizio ancora, loro tiravano palla di fuoco, l'ha detto immediatamente, e ovviamente tutti quanti venivano abbrustoliti come è giusto che sia, insomma, diciamo molto veramente OSR alla grande, insomma. Poi OSR è una renaissance, lui l'ha vissuta per davvero, quindi grande onore a lui. Ok, finish the translation.
That you must be tired. That was a lot of quick translating.
No, absolutely. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. I hope that everything happen every day.
So that was my childhood, and I was, around gaming all the time. So I would playtest things, modules. I played the first barbarian class when my dad was making up barbarians. I playtested that with him and rolled it up. He just told me take 8 6-sided dice and then 7 6-sided dice, and that was like strength and constitution and dexterity. 8 7 6. He experimented with that.
Sorry to
style.
interrupt you. So we can say that you are officially the first barbarian of D&D?
Yes, I played the first barbarian class. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
So
cool.
So I rolled that up, and I just was with my dad, and he's like, "Okay, let's roll this up."
Okay.
And we went on an adventure, and it was fun. And he was just testing how it would work, right? So I did that with barbarian class. We play tested a game called Star Frontiers.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was a lot of fun because Zeb Cook ran that, and he's a very good DM. He still comes to Gary Con, and we're friends. It's nice to see David or Zeb. He goes by Zeb Cook. So that was cool. And then I would read the Gord the Rogue books when my dad was writing them. I would read them because back then he used a typewriter, so not a computer, but he'd actually type on pages. So I'd come home from school and read those in high school. And when he made Dangerous Journeys, the game, I play tested that with him too. It changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But again, so I was just exposed to the creative process a lot because that's what my dad did. So just if your dad was a carpenter, you'd have to learn how to build houses. I learned how to make games, and or a fisherman or whatever. It was the family. It's what he did. And then, as all teenage boys, I got in arguments with my dad and thought I knew everything because I was smarter or whatever. He didn't understand me, and I was a teenager. So I left home and I joined the army. Oh, so my dad lost. For people who don't know,
Mm-hmm.
So my dad started TSR with his best friend Don Kay in 1973. In 1976, I think, 1975 or 1976, Don Kay died of a heart attack.
Yeah.
He was only 36. He was very young.
Mm-hmm.
So it was unexpected. And my dad had to bring in different people who had money, right? Because there was no money. They were just building the company. So TSR and D&D was very popular, but the company was not managed well. So they had a lot of money trouble, right? And eventually they brought in more people to help. You can read a book on it that's pretty good. You can read Game Wizards by John Peterson or Empire of Imagination by Michael Whitwer, both really good books that talk about that. But my dad lost his company in 1985, and he had everything was with the company. The rights to Dungeons and Dragons was with the company, so he had no rights to something he created and was his life. So that was a hard time for everybody. But anyway, so I left and I joined the army because I thought I wanted to be my own person, right? and have my
Right.
own identity. And so I did that, and you know, as I got a little bit older, I went to war and stuff. I got uh, my dad and I talked, and we became very good friends again. He was my best friend in high school. Then you want to be your own person. You fight a little bit,
Yeah.
and then you kind of come back together, right? Uh, hopefully in life. And so I was very close with my father until from probably like 1993 until he died in 2008. We'd talk often. I played in his D&D game, you know, on went out all through college and all that sort of stuff. Or it wasn't D&D; it was Legendary Adventures, his newer games. Uh, but yeah, so uh, even though I did other things, I would still play games and be around my dad and help out and play test. Uh, and for me, I didn't really get back into role playing games creatively until my father passed away. I did the Lost City of Gaxmore
Mm-hmm.
in 2000, and my dad, with my brother Ernie, and my dad helped
Mm-hmm.
and play tested our module, which was fun. So that was good. I got to Dungeon Master for my dad. Um,
Oh,
so it was
in,
good. It was good.
It's
inverted
wonderful.
roles.
Yeah. Uh,
Cha-
in my
change of
Go ahead.
testimony.
It
Yeah,
was because he was
inverted roles. Nice.
yeah, and my dad was very hard, right, as a DM. So lots of times I felt you'd win, you'd defeat a big monster, and then there'd be hardly any treasure, right? Right. So when I was DMing, it was good to hear him complain. What? There's no treasure, but we just. And I was like, sorry, this is the way it goes. So it was fun. Anyway, it was a good time. But once my father passed away, it really um, so many people uh, spoke to me about how important Dungeons and Dragons was to their life, not just for their fun, but it changed their life, and it helped them when they needed it. Maybe they had a learning disability; they couldn't read, but or it was hard to read, and their friends were playing Dungeons and Dragons, and the pictures were so interesting. They wanted to read so much that they sat there and they figured out how to overcome a learning disability. Or they came from a home where there was problems and it was very hard, but through Dungeons and Dragons they could escape and they could learn how to be strong by being a hero, and so it made them a stronger person, and they got through and were able to lead a good life. So many stories like that, um, that it made me want to uh, be involved more to make sure that my father wasn't forgotten, because D&D was not popular in 2008, not as popular as today, right? Now it's popular, but back then it was only, what, a million people worldwide, 2 million people worldwide played. Now it's 10 or 12. It's much, much popular, which is great. And there's movies and things. But just getting back into uh, uh, Dungeons and Dragons and role playing has been amazing. I've made so many great friends. I started Gary Con, and that's what opened a lot of doors for me, and made me realize how special a lot of this was. It's things I took for granted, right? Because it was just how I grew up. But I learned, as you get older, you realize, well, this was special. This was something that most people didn't get to see, and it made me appreciate it and want to support the community and to help people out.
Okay, I make a very short translation to let the people that
Oh,
in the meanwhile we have a ride. So thank you very much to our dear friend Dedelit that brings a lot of people over here. Dedelit is a very great illustrator, so very welcome. It's something that we appreciate a very lot. And I make a translation very quick. Ok, ragazzi. Per chi è che non ha dimestichezza, come ho detto, con l'inglese, innanzitutto grazie ai Raiders, grazie a Dedelit per il ride, molto gentile, veramente tanto.
Assolutamente, grazie.
Grazie di cuore. Allora, quello che ci ha raccontato lui è una cosa molto molto bella, cioè il suo rapporto col gioco di D&D è stato veramente a tutto tondo, e l'esperienza che ha portato suo padre nel gioco del ruolo, ma tutta la sua famiglia, perché la TSR è praticamente stata la loro vita, è stata una cosa incredibile. E oltretutto il gioco di ruolo ha portato, è stato quello che poi all'inizio, proprio parliamo degli anni 60, 70, 80, che ancora non aveva l'eco che ha adesso, perché l'eco che ha adesso Dungeons and Dragons è qualcosa di gigantesco rispetto a prima. Io in parte l'ho vissuto essendo quarantenne, gioco dal 1992, e nel 92 qui in Italia era probabilmente come da loro era all'inizio degli anni 80 o forse anche la fine dei 70. E quindi ciò che loro hanno vissuto, hanno portato, è quello che noi oggi vediamo comunemente. Oggi il gioco di ruolo viene utilizzato nelle aziende, viene utilizzato con i ragazzi con disabilità, ma all'epoca hanno praticamente creato tutto quanto loro. Ringraziamo Macat per i 100 bits, molto gentile, grazie amore. Macat is the one that is donated is my wife, look. So I just say thanks.
Of course.
And she is a great master of Dungeons and Dragons, eh? Okay. So that this is very cool. For us, it's a family thing, like less than your, but like your, okay? Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of families that play D&D together, and yesterday was Thanksgiving in the United States, so my children are home, and I wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, but I kind of have the flu, so I'm a little bit sick, and so I just had to go to bed early. I was tired, but Saturday we're gonna play.
Just to reply to the last things that you said that there's a people that use their mind, use their imagination, using the Dungeons and Dragons just to exit from maybe some a close reality, okay, or close life. I replied to your wonderful clip that you put on Instagram, where you say, "What is for you Dungeons and Dragons?" I replied by my experience. In 1992, when I was more kid than now, I had a very respiratory illness, so I have a lot of asthma, I have a lot of allergies. So for me, stay outside, it was very problematic. For me, Dungeons and Dragons, because I started from the board game. We started like 99% of Italian guys with HeroQuest, okay? Then we passed it to Dungeons and Dragons because arrived someone that says, "Oh, come on, you are a kid. Take this paper and pencil and start to play." So we passed it immediately to Dungeons and Dragons. And Dungeons and Dragons literally open our mind, because for us it's something out of mind, especially in the far province and far towns from the great city like where I live. So for me it was the exact thing that you told. So I am one of the son of that generation, okay? 99% absolutely. So thank you very much. This is the only thing that I can say.
There's so many people like that D&D helped them in some way, or maybe they were just shy. It was so hard to talk to people, but in the game, you're not, I'm not Luke. I'm, the barbarian. I'm a strong. I can do whatever, right? So you learn how to do that, and it's so important. So besides, even just let's say you don't have a problem or a difficulty, role playing teaches you how to talk to others and convince them that your ideas are good. It teaches you leadership skills. I think it helps your vocabulary and your math and little things like that too. But it really does have skills. You get to practice skills that are valuable later in life. And so I think it advances you. It helps you, like school can. And a lot of creative people learn that they love creating stories because they were dungeon masters, and they learned how to create stories, and they had hundreds of hours of practice creating stories, and they learned what works and what doesn't work. And so they are better than other people when they start their job, right? Of writing stories or making video games or whatever it is.
Eric.
Yeah, it's my turn. Well, I have a question that introduces the real question, but the first thing is, how does it feels to see something that it had started in your house from your father, like D&D? Now you can see it everywhere. It's something that has become a piece of pop culture. So you can spot it in even in I don't know in very unusual place. So how does it feels from a child and an adult to this? And
Uh, yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful legacy, and I'm so very proud of what my father did. I wish we owned part of it, but we
Yeah.
don't. Uh, but that's okay. It's a wonderful legacy, and it's made the world a better place
Yeah.
and changed so many things. What we watch on TV, what books we read, uh, video games that we play. If you can go to the store and you buy a birthday card, and it says "Happy level," you're leveling up today, right? That's D&D. That came from D&D. There was no leveling up, you know. So it is everywhere, and mostly I'm very proud that that I have this special connection to it, and that it came from my dad. So it's amazing.
so the important question is obviously, what are your projects now on the tabletop RPG? What are
Yeah,
you doing now? And if you can tell us the future
sure.
projects.
Yeah, so through Gaxworks, my company, so gaxworks.com, I'm publishing adventures set in my world of Okarim, which is a setting that had a great cataclysm fell upon it, and so there's ancient ruins with powerful magic items to be discovered, and lots of in a sandy, deserty wasteland. So it was inspired by my trips to Iraq as a soldier, and influenced by culturally a little bit from my wife and her stories and readings, my trips to Morocco, because she's a Moroccan person,
Mhm.
and just a fun fantasy world. So I'm writing some adventures now for fifth edition with a friend of mine named Matt Everhart, and they're available. The Ayashin Tufi and Hardishin Tufi. You can get those digitally right now. Uh, they're only in English. I don't have them translated to Italian, so sorry about
Oh,
that, guys.
no
Uh,
problem. I
uh,
will do it.
you're right.
Don't worry.
Okay, you can translate it.
Yeah.
And then we're writing the third one now it's a three-part series. I have Shintufi, Harder Shintufi, Feta Shintufi. So I'm doing that, and we're also working on a new game setting that will use the everyday hero rules, which is 5e modern. So it's called Strange and Grim, and it's a diesel punk adventure, or excuse me, diesel punk game. It takes place on the world of Baynor, and there's fantasy races, there's weird technology and magic, and it's all fused together. So if you like movies like Sucker Punch or Sky Captain
Yeah.
in the World of Tomorrow, you'll like that setting. Um, Oh geez, there was a great anime which I'm forgetting what the name of the anime is. I'll think of it later. But yeah, that one's going to be a lot of fun, and it's a genre that people uh, don't do as much. So I think it could be a lot of fun. So that's what I'm up to. That and running GaryCon. Uh, GaryCon happens every March in Lake Geneva. We do get some Italian people who come to Lake Geneva for GaryCon. Not often, but we do get a couple Italians have made the trip. A couple Australian people, we've a guy from Thailand who comes. So it's an international. They all fly into this tiny little town in Wisconsin, which is not a place people usually visit when they come to the United States. Uh, but it's a lot of fun, and we play games and celebrate and have a lot of fun at GaryCon. So this maybe 2,000 people, and we spend 4 days gaming, and we get lots and lots of great guests. So if you want to come and see anyone from, like I said, Larry Elmore or Tim Kask, will be there, to guys like Mike Merles from Fifth Edition, Joe Manganiello comes most years. It's just a good time. You never knew who you're going to see at GaryCon.
Absolutely. Ok, I make a little bit of a translation, ok? Just a little
Ok.
bit. Ok ragazzi, allora, ci ha parlato ovviamente di quelli che sono i suoi progetti. Lui ha fondato la Gaxworks, che è questa compagnia che ha fondato con un suo amico, e anche lui game designer, e tra i tanti progetti, voi vedete addirittura un'avventura che avevano scritto proprio a Lake Geneva, che è la loro città fatta per richiamo di Cthulhu, e hanno creato questa ambientazione dieselpunk per questo gioco che si chiama appunto Everyday Heroes. Everyday Heroes è un set, è una sorta di regolamento adattativo che si può, un po' tipo Fate accelerato, che si può più o meno mettere a disposizione per ogni tipologia di gioco. E infatti ha avuto qui in Italia, non ha, come dire, non ha una traduzione italiana, però è stato moddato per un sacco di lore, ad esempio per quella di Highlander o per quella del 1997 Fuga da New York. Lui ha scritto un'ambientazione, tra l'altro open source, anche carina, l'ho anche letta, in anteprima, insomma, l'ha anche kickstarterata, che appunto è un'ambientazione dieselpunk, quindi molto futuristica, un po' alla Sucker Punch, e secondo me è estremamente interessante. Tra l'altro funziona con i meccanismi della quinta edizione di D&D. Poi ci ha parlato ovviamente di quello che è il suo gioiello, che è la Garycon, cioè la convention che loro fanno proprio a Lake Geneva, dedicata alla sua famiglia, a suo padre, a Gary Gygax. E insomma è iniziata come una riunione di amici, adesso è diventata una fiera internazionale in cui fanno più o meno la corsa tutti per poterci essere presenti, anche alcuni italiani. So che c'era stata della gente in passato, gente che conoscevo, mi hanno detto che è un ambiente bellissimo, si respira gioco di ruolo al 150%, per cui se qualcuno vuole andarci non ci sono problemi.
E la cosa carina che diceva che appunto è divertente il fatto che tanta gente si riunisca in un posto alla fine
Sì,
abbastanza piccolo nel Wisconsin, cioè è una piccola realtà di
di
5.000
provincia.
abitanti, quindi voglio dire, però appunto
Bello.
attira i fan.
Uh, I would like to tell that here in Italy we have one of the greatest convention worldwide called Lucca Comics and Games, and we have as guest this year your friend Metzer. That is a guru for us, and this year I saw very long queue just to say thank you very much for everything like happened in the past. And so we understand the value of the convention, that is very huge in sense of feelings, even for the dimension obviously, but for the feelings I think that is something very incredible to be a part of GaryCon and stay in the place where everything started and everything take the shape. So this is very interesting, okay, and this is very emotive, okay. Give me feelings, give me real feelings. And
Yes.
just to let you understand what is the public, you said that there is the today Dungeons and Dragons is something different to what Dungeons and Dragons was at the beginning of the 90s, in the 80s, and maybe earlier, okay. Here in Italy, I could say that what you feel on the 80s, we feel here on 90s. So we have a 10 late of delay in respect of what happened into the United States, okay? Here in Italy and in general I see in Europe there is a so deep love for the old edition of Dungeons and Dragons. A lot of people here in Italy is very linked into what we call the 3.5 version of Dungeons and Dragons, okay. So for us it's for the Italian people it's a sort of untouchable thing, okay, more than fifth edition. And the Italian people, it's very critic at the beginning when the fifth edition comes out. They say, no, come on, it's too simple. So this is what they said, okay. And moreover, I could tell you another thing. In Europe, thanks for big companies in Europe for tabletop games that maybe you know, Free League and Free League
Free League.
Publishing, there is this movement called OSR, so Old School Renaissance, that is point very much to the first and second edition of Dungeons and Dragons, due for the rules that now are no more trademark on it. Okay, so
Yep.
this movement is became so huge that I think that no even a free league does not understand why. But I understand that Italian people is so fascinated by old times at the beginning of Dungeons and Dragons, as you expressed it to us, that want to get back, and even the actual guys and kids that start to play want to understand better where we came from, where Dungeons and Dragons came from, because what we see now, it's a product of mass. Okay, it's a massive product. We would like to see what happened when the box comes out. Okay, we would
Yeah.
like to have
Uh,
these feelings.
yes, and I would say there are. That's not unusual. There's OSR movement here in in the U.S. is very strong. Free League does some great stuff. Do they do old school essentials?
Yeah, old school
Whoever does old,
essential. Yeah. In
so
Italy, it's
there's
very
old school
popular.
essentials. There's Dungeon Crawl Classics, Castles and Crusades. These
Yeah,
are all older style games that look backwards. Hyperborea, Astonishing Swordsman and Sorcerer of Hyperborea. All those are capturing basic or advanced Dungeons and Dragons, right? And then of course Pathfinder is the big
yeah,
one for 3.5, and that's fine. There is no right way to play D&D for me.
yeah.
The way that you have fun with your friends is the right way to play D&D.
That's the
I don't like
the
I don't like people saying you can't. This is the right way. No.
This is the perfect reply that everybody I will expect. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's great. I enjoyed playing Old School
Yeah,
Essentials in November. I played Old School Essentials. I played Fifth Edition. I wrote First Edition. I wrote one Third Edition. I was not so good at it. It is more complex. There's a lot of rules, so you have to know them very well, or have very good editors who look for all the to make sure the mechanics work
yeah,
perfectly, because there's a lot into it. Um, uh, I prefer. I mean, I'll play. I know Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
yeah.
That's what I grew up playing. So for me, that's very easy. So I can play that all day. That's no problem.
Fully agree.
I ran Tomb of Horrors at a convention a week ago, which was fun in first edition. But then I also ran my fifth edition modules, and I had a lot of fun. I ran like six groups through my modules, and I had so much fun doing it. So it's not the rule system I think that is fun. It's you create the fun, right? Fifth edition is meant for everybody to understand quickly. Um, there are some things I don't like about it. I think that it is everybody's equal. They're all
Absolutely.
like the fighter was strong in first edition. At first, second, third level, they were strong. The wizard, magic user was weak. Then fifth level, right? The magic user starts going up, and the fighter is
Yeah,
less. Right, so it's uneven, but that was part of the game that was neat, that was fun. It made it different. 5e, whatever you are, it's kind of smooth. Everybody, I can throw my cantrip and do 1 to 8 damage. I can use my longsword and do 1 to 8 damage, right? So it's all kind of the same. I'm a rogue. I get extra damage all the time. There's no backstab. It's as long as somebody's fighting them, I get extra damage. So it's a little easier. Very very hard to kill somebody. So I feel like the risk is lower, which makes your excitement lower. Just like when you're reading a story, if there's no tension, or watching a movie. Oh my God, what's going to happen? Are they going to make it? Are they going to win the game? Are they going to survive? That's the drama, right? That's what you need. And if there's
absolutely.
no drama, you don't get the excitement. So that's the thing I would worry about. Um, but millions of people are playing it and having fun. So You know,
Uh,
are they wrong? No.
no. Ok, I make a quick translation, very quick, ok? Just a moment. Allora, il
Okay.
discorso è molto semplice. Lui ci sta dicendo, innanzitutto ha detto forse la frase più bella nella storia del gioco del ruolo, ovvero la versione di D&D che è migliore giocare è quella che vi diverte di più. E questa è la frase che possiamo incorniciare per i prossimi 150 milioni di anni, ok? Seconda cosa, lui dice: le versioni di adesso, ovvero la quinta, ha toccato ovviamente il nervo. Dice: sono tutte molto paritarie, cioè sono piatte, ok? Nel senso che tutti i personaggi sono piatti. Nella prima edizione del Dungeons and Dragons, lo sa anche lui, il guerriero al primo livello menava, il mago doveva scappare per evitare di rimanerci secco. Questa era la storia di D&D. Però è anche vero che se tu vuoi introdurre un'avventura, creare del thrill, creare del pathos, creare una trama come in un film, serve il più debole, serve il più forte, serve quello che rischia dall'inizio e quello che rischia più avanti. Quindi ha perfettamente ragione e ha colto quella che è la sensazione del 99% di giocatori di gioco di ruolo che vengono dal passato, capito? Ecco, questo è veramente fondamentale. Dopo lui dice, ovvio, la quinta edizione la giocano milioni di persone. Sbagliano? Assolutamente no, perché è figlia dei loro tempi. Quindi è anche molto comprensivo da questo punto di vista. Io sono molto felice di queste sue risposte. Eric, vuoi aggiungere qualcosa?
No, direi che ha
Ok, perfetto.
sintetizzato perfetto.
Perfetto, ok, allora andiamo avanti. I have a- an idea for you, okay? As a old, I consider myself an old player, okay, for the Italian market, okay.
Mhm.
Actually, we Italian market oriented really much to the OSR, okay. A lot of people write for OSR or for system that taken idea from the past, okay.
Okay.
There is a great division, and there is a risk at the beginning that someone is not so strong to survive, okay, like you told
Yes.
about the mage,
Yeah.
okay.
Hmm.
We have as guest Mr. Grant Howitt a couple of weeks ago. He's a game designer. He's an expression of what is the movement right now, more than OSR. So Morkborg, for example, and every
Yeah.
game that are linked with that. Morkborg at the end is a great tribute to the work of your father. Okay, I said our because I consider our father at the
Yeah.
end. Sorry. Morkborg was really a great tribute for the work of your father and introduce again what you told me some moments before. So the question of a presence of weak classes, not because the game is not made well, just because if you want to introduce some thrill, some lore, if you want to make a adventure that has a sense, you need to have someone that at the beginning it's not so good and risk to not arrive to the next episode. So that's the way. The difference between this and what the people play of millions and millions right now, so D&D 5th edition, is that probably today it's more spectacular. It is
Hmm.
Dungeons and Dragon that goes out from the boxes and going to the television. It became mainstream, so it lost many things. And today, you need to have a content that have absolutely plain. Okay, no chance for evil ones. But the evil needs. So this is the force of
Yeah.
Morkborg that reintroduced the
Yeah.
evil character to be evil. Because playing evil is important in role play. You can nobody said I make a party of people that everybody are happy, okay? Because it's not Dungeons and Dragon. It's probably like something for the kids over 1 year or 3 years. Dungeons and Dragon may introduce something that is it's evil, okay? If we speak with Xanatar, we cannot expect that say, okay, welcome, take a beer. No,
Yeah.
that's the
So
point.
yeah, absolutely. So Dungeons and Dragons teaches you about life, I think, and getting to explore uh, sides that aren't necessarily good is okay. Um, I tried playing evil characters, and I'm just not very good at it. I don't like it. I remember I played an assassin who I I broke out of jail, and we had a band of bandits, and we came on some village, and we could easily take what we wanted, right? But I felt bad for the villagers, right? I was young, So I felt bad because they would starve if we took their food, right? So I wanted to
Okay.
pay them for the food. I just wasn't a very good assassin. I'm more of a good guy. So I just learned that's not who I am. But it's good to explore and be able to explore those things. And like you said, for me, I think it's good to have evil, powerful evil forces in the world because why do you adventure? What's your call to adventure? Why are you a hero? Well, you've got to stop evil, right? You've got to stop injustice. If you don't do anything, evil wins, right? And that's an important lesson. So it's up to you. You need to take action. You can do it. You can make a difference. So get up and start. And maybe you're going to make a difference, a small difference at first. And then as you grow and you learn, you can make a bigger influence and a bigger influence. And that's like life. You gain experience and you have more impact, or you can, right? But if you never get up off the couch and go adventure, if you always stay on the farm and that's it, well then, you're not going to grow and you're not going to have influence in the world. So that's a good lesson too. And my dad did not like evil characters very much.
This is
It,
this is a great lesson that you are giving to us. We are listening. I think that there is 1,000 people that is listening to what you are telling us. It's very important. So please conclude. But I tell you that
yeah.
it's a lesson for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the hero's journey, right? It's what we all love. It's the stories that humanity loves. There's something. We all have a special power, right? We're special. We're unique in a way. We all want to feel like we're unique, right? Like we have something to give the world, something special. And on that call to adventure, it's up to you. You're pulled into the adventure. You have to do something to stop an evil force that's going. And sure, this is stories, but in real life, you can find your cause and you can stand up for what is right and what you believe in and make a difference. And that's why Dungeons and Dragons. One of the reasons why Dungeons and Dragons is so important.
Fantastic. Eric, yeah.
Yeah, I have.
We're going to
I
the
think
conclusion, Luke.
yeah,
We
a
respect the
final
time that
question.
we agreed.
A final question. You can answer quickly if you want. Me and Francesco are older player, and so I'd like to ask you, as a game designer, as a player, one of the first player of the D&D, what advices can you give to the new generation, the new player, because they are the future. They are those who one day maybe they will create something for the RPG community. So if you can give them an advice, what will it be?
First, have fun playing the game. Build. It's a wonderful way to build friends. Take the time. Life gets busy. Take that time to meet with your friends if you can, face to face, and play games. If you can't use video, that's good. Don't be afraid to try new things. My dad. Everybody told my dad he was crazy, right? And he had no money, but he believed in. He loved fantasy. He loved medieval, right? So he created this game, these crazy rules, and no matter what, he did it, and it was his dream, right? And he got very lucky, right? Not everyone gets that lucky, but you might be. The person who made Magic the Gathering, Richard Garfield. I admit, I saw Magic the Gathering in 1992 when it came out. I thought it was dumb. I was like, who wants to play this dumb game? I would not. It's cards. That's garbage. I don't want to collect cards. That's what a dumb idea this is. I was wrong. It's a very popular game, right? It's bigger than Dungeons and Dragons. So,
I'm
somebody
smiling.
may tell you, somebody may tell you it's a bad idea. If you believe in it, it's your dream. Don't listen to them. Keep pushing. Change it, refine it, and keep going, because you never know. You might be the next big thing.
Thank you very much.
You told us that you do not feel paladin. Believe me, you are the perfect paladin. Believe me, you are the perfect paladin. Absolutely. You were paladin of our talk. So thank you very much about that. If I can add you just one thing, is that the miracle it happened again, because Dungeons and Dragons, for all the people during the lockdowns, it's the the
Yes.
great way to goes out, to be out, to feel ourselves not surrounded by walls, but open to whole world. So the miracle comes again, repeats and repeats. So again, I think that the word is a very great depth with the family of Gygax. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sorry for a few minutes that we
Oh,
delayed.
you're fine. No problem.
Thank you very
No
much.
problem.
Goodbye, Luke. Thank you, thank you, thank
Thanks,
you.
Luke.
Bye, bye,
Take care,
bye, bye.
guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Ok, adesso mi riprendo dal farmi venire un infarto perché penso che sono lì per essere vicino perché ragazzi c'ho dalla pelle d'oca e dato che sono scimmiesco
Hai le pillole vicino.
le pillole adesso gli anziani si devono un attimino riprendere
Sì,
perché
tutti e due dobbiamo riprenderci.
abbiamo
alla svelta.
preso una mazzata qua proprio del collo, capito? Cioè lezioni.
Sì, poi la conclusione è stata una cosa incredibile.
No, cioè, vabbè, ragazzi, io non pensavo che sarebbe stata bella, ma non sapevo che sarebbe stata stupenda. Ecco, allora
Assolutamente.
vi voglio anche dire le ultime cose che lui ha detto. Cioè, lui dice: io gli ho parlato ovviamente dei personaggi, del fatto che i cattivi non sono più così cattivi come una volta, che non c'è più il rischio come una volta. E lui mi ha detto: guarda, io non sono tanto bravo a ruolare i cattivi. Grazie dottore, molto gentile. E grazie Dedelit. Guarda, il minimo che ho potuto fare è dirgli: guarda, c'è un'illustratrice tanto brava, se la volete utilizzare per i prossimi lavori chiedetegli pure. Comunque, detto questo, io gli ho spiegato ovviamente che il movimento OSR qui in Europa è molto forte e lui ha detto anche negli Stati Uniti c'è Dungeon Crawler, c'è Old School Essential, ce ne sono tanti di titoli che vogliono tornare al passato. Io ho detto sì, beh, effettivamente la sensazione della gente che vuole andare poi crescendo dal gioco di massa tutto paritario, vuole tornare a vedere come sono le origini di questo mondo è ovviamente forte, perché più si cresce nell'esperienza più si vuole tornare a vedere cosa hanno combinato la famiglia Gygax insieme a tutti gli altri, a Don Kay, a Arneson, creando questo incredibile mondo. E lui è estremamente positivo come persona, cioè è impressionante. Lui ha detto: ragazzi, credeteci, perché il gioco di ruolo mio padre l'ha cominciato a fare che era una scommessa, non gli avrebbero dato 5 lire nessuno, non gliel'hanno date finché non ha trasformato questa sua incredibile convinzione di lui appassionato a giochi di guerra, ai wargames, ha creato questo incredibile universo che oggi è assoluto, insomma, è diventato un fenomeno veramente di massa. Io che sono solo un quarantenne rispetto a lui e vivo in Italia, l'ho visto crescere così come Eric, però non pensavamo che fosse così improntata, secondo me, la realtà delle cose, ok? Quindi, cioè, secondo me è veramente un'esperienza incredibile quella che abbiamo appena sentito. Bisogna solamente ringraziarlo. E poi la conclusione è stata per i nuovi giocatori: ragazzi, sotto, credeteci sempre, anche se vi dicono tutti che state sbagliando, perché
Non lasciatevi far mettere sotto da chi vi dice che state facendo una cosa che non ha senso, credete nelle cose che state facendo. E in questo nostro hobby è vero, è così, assolutamente.
non ve lasciate fermare, anche perché i tempi cambiano. E poi mi sono lasciato andare dicendogli che il miracolo dell'apertura mentale che dà il gioco di ruolo è avvenuto ancora, perché ragazzi, se siamo qua, se utilizziamo Twitch anche per il gioco di ruolo, è perché il grande boost gli è stato dato sicuramente dopo durante il lockdown, quando tutti quanti più o meno chiusi in casa, i giocatori di ruolo, anche quelli vecchi e quelli nuovi, si sono incontrati insieme per giocare. E questo è stato il rinnovo di un miracolo che ha permesso a tante persone di poter uscire di casa. Poi la natura americana è un po' diversa dalla nostra. Noi siamo 60 milioni, loro sono un pochini di più, in spazi estremamente più ampi, quindi il giocare, il trovarsi, il vedersi per loro è forse è anche più fondamentale di noi. Noi l'abbiamo capita sta cosa durante i lockdown, ma poi Eric, dimmi tu se la vedi allo stesso modo.
No, non si può aggiungere altro, ha detto veramente, mi ha fatto ridere che appunto a proposito del credere in quello che si fa, ha detto quando Garfield ha fatto uscire Magic, lui stesso ha detto
Incredibile,
ma
incredibile.
questa è poca roba, non andrà mai da nessuna parte, e ha dovuto anche lui ricredersi ovviamente,
Ha
dicendo
detto
appunto che è
come on, the cards are garbage. Cioè le carte
appunto
sono spazzatura. Ragazzi, l'ha
sono
detto The
spazzatura,
Magic. Ha detto oggi è un
e
gioco più
infatti
grande di D&D.
si è visto infatti, quindi bisogna credere assolutamente, sembra una cosa scontata, ma non lo è. Bisogna credere nel proprio progetto e portarlo avanti anche se non si hanno opinioni discordanti da parte degli altri, bisogna portare avanti quello che si crea. Nulla può guastare a portarlo avanti.
Ma vi dico anche questo, a conferma di questo, signori, invitare Luke Gygax è una cosa semplicissima perché lui è una persona estremamente disponibile, però bisogna rischiarsi, bisogna scrivere, bisogna chiedere che queste persone che sono la base di questa nostra parte di cultura, perché lo Speaker's Corner non è solo gioco di ruolo, vogliamo che sia cultura, e questa che abbiamo fatto stasera è un'intervista che a mio modo di vedere poteva tranquillamente essere trasmessa da un canale nazionale con tutto il dovuto rispetto, ma non per noi, per la figura che rappresenta Luke e per, se mi consentite, l'essere ambasciatore di quello che è stato creato in questo mondo, perché insomma di figure come lui qui in Italia possiamo solo ammirarle. Ecco, questo secondo me è basilare. Io sono ben contento insieme a Eric, siamo felicissimi. Speriamo che questo contenuto vi sia piaciuto. Noi proseguiremo
Sì,
avanti perché ancora c'è tanto da parlare, sia con autori più
assolutamente.
piccoli italiani che con autori stranieri, che con cose relative al gioco del ruolo e non relative al gioco del ruolo, perché
Di tante realtà diverse, di tante cose diverse, di tanti giochi diversi.
lo salvate poi sì, allora il Void poi verrà messo sul canale YouTube, in modo tale che potremo tranquillamente riversare, potete tranquillamente recuperare tutta l'intervista e riascoltare tutte le cose che sono state dette, tutto quello che è possibile. Già è caricata sia nel canale di Stranger Games, quella con Morini e Praticò. Nel mio
Sì.
canale c'è caricata quella di Grant Howitt e Rolling Kunz, ok? Quindi,
E uscirà anche una puntata speciale sul podcast, perché questo è un contenuto troppo importante, per cui lo ritrasmetteremo anche sul podcast Stranger Games, quindi ovviamente solo come audio, ma lo troverete anche lì, oltre al contenuto, o il VOD qua finché rimarrà, e poi su YouTube.
Dedelit, io posso solo ringraziarti per averci raidato e siamo
Assolutamente
ben
sì.
contenti che tu abbia potuto conoscere Luke Gygax, che come hai visto è una persona deliziosa. Recupererò sicuramente la parte live che ho perso. Wicked Lady, non c'è problema perché tanto sarà possibile recuperare tutto. Ti invito
Sì, sì, sì.
caldamente a recuperarla perché è mio modo di vedere quello che ha detto lui, non tanto quello che abbiamo detto noi, ma quello che ha detto lui è bellissimo. Grazie Chiara. E
Sì.
detto questo, a questo punto, Eric, possiamo annunciare l'ospite della prossima settimana.
Ti do questo, ovviamente come padrone di casa hai tu questo onore.
No, 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 io lo faccio.
Sì, sì, sì.
I padroni di
No,
casa
no,
qua
no,
non
no, no,
esistono.
annuncialo
Comunque,
tu
va
che
bene.
vabbè,
La,
no, vabbè, dai però.
la prossima settimana, proprio perché noi vogliamo dare voce anche ai piccoli autori, a piccoli, medi e grandi autori, la prossima settimana avremo ospite Michele Pavani di Putrid Games, che già il nome è tutto un magnifico programma, autore di
Ci
magnifici
piace, ci piace.
OSR, è una persona gradevolissima che ha introdotto il gioco di ruolo e ha portato l'OSR in Italia e a un livello estremamente alto. Non sono capaci solo gli svedesi a farli OSR, siamo bravissimi anche noi
Siam
italiani.
capaci anche noi.
Siamo capaci
Siam
anche
capaci
noi e
anche
siamo
noi.
ben contenti di ospitare la Putrid Games. Potrei essere inviato come ospite non gradito. No, no, uomo, tu sei ospite sempre e comunque.
A
L'uomo della...
parte che per venire come ospite non gradito dovresti autoinvitarti, quindi se no, se ti invitiamo noi sei gradito.
E sei sempre gradito nei
E sei
nostri
sempre
canali.
gradito, uomo della Madonna.
Ho detto questo. Va bene, signori. Allora, vi lasciamo andare a mettere qualcosa sotto i denti perché di emozioni ne abbiamo già avute
Assolutamente.
abbastanza. Io vado a far calare il battito cardiaco, se no vi giocate il vostro Ubibol direttamente qua. Voglio ringraziare di cuore Eric perché questa accoppiata non ci potrebbe essere, questo Strangebol che vedete qua non potrebbe esistere senza di lui, per cui
Ma grazie a te.
detto questo, ragazzi, allora aspetta, siamo in tanti, andiamo a fare un bel raidino come l'abbiamo avuto adesso, mi sembra giusto.
Sì, ricambiamo, è sempre giusta cosa.
Oh, andiamo a raidare una persona che sicuramente apprezzerà molto i ponti in Bob. Assolutamente.
Perfetto.
Adesso lo metto. Rimanete qua e ricordatevi che Twitch è sostegno, per cui sosteniamoci ognuno con l'altro. Polo, thank you very much for coming. You are now we are closing. Please take another time this live in VOD because it was wonderful. Ok ragazzi, allora carichiamo. Vediamo se lo prende. Il raid perfetto è stato creato. Allora, ancora ringraziamenti a tutti. E fantastico tutto. No, mi dispiace Shadow, ho disattivato tutti gli audio, per cui è inutile che lo metti.
No, oggi no, oggi non si può.
Oggi niente audio e niente cose strane. Da domani riprendiamo subito tutto. Grazie ancora, ciao a tutti e buona serata. Ciao.